All right, so breaking news this hour. The Israeli military carried out more airstrikes on Tehran as a rapidly escalating air war between the two countries raged for the fourth consecutive day. Israel warned hundreds of thousands of people in the middle of Tehran to evacuate ahead of new strikes. The warning came on the day of the conflict when the Israeli military claimed it had achieved air superiority above the Iranian capital and could fly over the city without facing major threats. And another major breaking news coming to us this hour: the Islamic Republic of Iran's broadcasting building was struck in an Israeli attack, cutting live coverage immediately. The blast occurred as the presenter was live on television, lambasting Israel's attacks before she was seen leaving the set. Iran's state television and radio were issued an evacuation warning for the district in Tehran where the broadcaster is based.
I don't know how many of my colleagues were inside. I was on the first floor when the bombing happened. I don't know how many of my colleagues were killed or injured. They had told us to evacuate, but everyone stayed there till the last moment to show the world the image of Iran's strength, something the Zionist regime doesn't want to see.
Okay, certainly this attack on this building, this media infrastructure, is something unprecedented. I mean, of course, this is not a military site. Of course, this is not an economic infrastructure. It is a media infrastructure, a communication house, and attacking a communication house like that, a media channel like that, is of course something that we have not seen happen before. So certainly a grave violation of international law. But again, we're talking about a country that has already violated multiple laws in this conflict. For more on this, let's bring in TRT World's Yusuf Jalali. He joins me live from Tehran. Yusuf, so I mean, I'm shocked, and I'm sure you are shocked as well.
Definitely, Jafar. This is perhaps the most striking part of Israel's attack on Iran. This building that you see burning is very much iconic to every Iranian for years, even before the Islamic Revolution. The IRIB was there actually under a different name, but now it's called IRIB, meaning the Islamic Republic Broadcasting Organization. So there are multiple casualties being reported, some of them high-profile journalists who were actually reporting live. They were in the studios, and as you saw that woman, brave woman, we can say, reporting live, she was actually lambasting the Israeli attacks on Iran, and all of a sudden, she experienced that strike and left the studio immediately. And one of the interesting parts of this whole story is that she returned and resumed broadcasting, and the transmission resumed minutes after the attack took place. So this is very much interesting, and they want to really boost the morale of the Iranians. Since the start of the Israeli strike on Iran, we see that the IRIB has been on a mission to try to establish unity among different, perhaps political factions, different people from across the social and political stripes. They've been trying to, of course, establish this sense of unity and solidarity, because Iranian society has recently been fragmented when it comes to some political beliefs or some economic hardships blamed on the mismanagement of the Islamic Republic officials. Of course, the IRB has been for these days trying to calm the situation down, and is broadcasting, as I mentioned before, some patriotic epic songs, calling for people to get together, establish this nationalism, and stand against the common enemy right now. So, and we see that Israel targeted this building. This building, as I said, is very much iconic. It's actually the headquarters of the IRIB. The IRIB is a very big complex comprised of numerous networks and numerous news agencies, all affiliated under the name and under the umbrella name of IRIB. So soon afterwards, Iran issued a stern warning to channel 12 and I think channel 14 of Israel, saying and advising, and of course calling for those people working there to evacuate. So Iran has been following this eye for an eye, because we see that as soon as Israel issued this evacuation order calling on Iranians to evacuate before Israel would strike those areas, Iran reciprocated by issuing an evacuation order of its own, advising Israelis to evacuate certain areas because they said that a very powerful strike is coming towards Israel. So we are expecting that such a massive airstrike against Israel to come anytime soon, perhaps.
I mean, indeed, it's shocking, but, of course, we have to look at the justification from the Israeli side, right? Of course, they have not provided any sort of justification over attacking this media channel, this state broadcaster. And, Yusuf, one thing that I was thinking about when entering the studios for this broadcast, whenever there is a coup in a country, what's the first place to be attacked by coup plotters? It's the media channel. It's the media. It's the state broadcaster, right? So keeping that in mind, what do you think this attack tells us about Israel's intentions when it comes to this conflict between the two countries?
Well, of course, it's not hidden to anyone that Israel has long been seeking a regime change in Iran and has long been, of course, funding some riots in Iran during different junctures in the history of the Islamic Republic. And over the past years, it has intensified its support for the opposition parties, perhaps, or the opposition groups and figures, some of whom are residing outside of Iran. And then recently, Benjamin Netanyahu has been trying to repeat slogans that seem to be repeated by some opposition figures in Iran, like freedom, women, life, freedom. This is a very iconic slogan that was, of course, chanted during the protests back in 2022 after the death of Mahsa Amini inside a police station. So whether or not those protests are legitimate, Benjamin Netanyahu seems to be understanding what is happening inside Iran. And he seems to be understanding the rift and the divide between Iranian different social groups in Iran. So he has been touching on these hot topics in Iran, trying to show that he is with the Iranian people. We see that Israel has been pursuing this agenda in Iran. So yes, you're definitely right. It seems like a coup. It seems like Israel is trying to deal a blow to the Islamic Republic and actually uproot it, eliminate the Islamic Republic. It has been eliminating its military figures and nuclear scientists, and has time and again said that the Islamic Republic is a grave danger and a grave threat to Israel, to the existence of Israel. But more than that, if you take a look at the pattern in Gaza, you can feel that the same pattern has happened in Gaza with regards to what is happening now. So we see that Israel says that we are not targeting journalists, we are not targeting civilians, but whenever it starts such a military campaign, it includes journalists and the press community, the press community on the list. So we see that many dozens of journalists lost their lives during the Gaza war, and now we see that journalists are also a target. So this is a pattern that has been repeated by Israel over the years.
I have to say this, perhaps the reason why Israel felt so emboldened about conducting this airstrike on a television news network is because the international community has not held Israel accountable for the killings of hundreds of journalists in the Gaza Strip. But of course, that's a different topic. What I feel is happening right now is that this conflict has basically entered a very, very dangerous territory. Over the course of the past 2 or 3 hours, we have seen major escalation, attacks happening in densely populated civilian areas of Tehran. Then these new directives, unprecedented directives of evacuation being issued by the Israeli army. And then, of course, Iran has done the same to Israel, issued evacuation orders for Tel Aviv residents. So I believe the next few hours are going to be extremely crucial when it comes to Iranian retaliation. And what I am seeing happen on social media right now, and according to experts, is that Iran's retaliation might be brutal tonight, much bigger than the last 3 nights.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. And Iran has said earlier that the upcoming strikes would be even more devastating than the previous waves of missile strikes against Israel. And we are expecting such a thing to take place this time too, because we heard comments from Iranian military figures after that attack on the IRIB took place, that those comments suggest that Israel has to brace for a historic strike that would wipe out most of Tel Aviv. So we have to wait and see actually how that will, of course, evolve.
That's Yusuf Jalali live for us from Tehran. Yusuf, thank you very much indeed. So certainly the conflict between Israel and Iran has entered a very, very dangerous phase. These are latest pictures rather coming to us from Tehran, where we can see smoke, plumes of the smoke in the air after Israeli missiles struck Tehran. We are hearing reports that both the eastern and western part of the Iranian capital was struck by Israeli missiles, including an attack on Iran's state television broadcaster, an attack on media, an attack on journalism.